got some money, so let's build our own studio, and we're going to have to record this Quadrophonic anyway. So they found this church in Battersea. They bought it for £15,000, empty church, and turned it, formed this company, Ramport, which was going to buy all their equipment and manage their equipment. They were all directors of it. That was an off-the-shelf name, I think. They just bought a company off the shelf. And opened this studio called Ramport Studios, and they lavished all this money on and put it inside. But there was problems, they'd rushed it as usual. There were problems with the control room, and they'd also had a fire there over Christmas or New Year or something. They were recording in there, but because the control room section of it wasn't working and had been fired, they borrowed Ronnie Lane's mobile recording studio that he had, Ronnie Lane of the Faces, Small Faces, in an Airstream caravan, and parked it outside and run all these cables in. So the engineer was out there, and they put a two-way, I mean, it's very advanced for the time, but they had CCTV cameras from the thing out to the thing. And also, it was such chaos. They'd record something, and then when they'd stop, all these builders would come in and start fixing something. They'd go quiet, and they'd all go out again, the builders. Then they'd record another thing, and then it was absolute chaos, absolute chaos. But it was working, and they had to change Ronnie Lane's mobile from 8-track to 16-track over a weekend, and working like mad. Now, this guy who worked for Ronnie Lane, there were two guys, Ron Neverson and Chris Forkus. Because he came along with it, he ended up as the engineer on the album. And Ron Neverson's now a big record producer because of that, But so it was really Pete and him and this other guy, Chris Forkus, who were left recording this extremely complicated thing, which they thought they were doing in quadrophonic sound. As I said, that some tracks had already been done at Olympic with Glyn Johns, 3, I think. So they started recording this stuff. And the way they did it at Ramport, which was interesting, was that Pete does these very, very finished demos. Now this time he'd done them really, really finished, really over loads of synthesizer tracks, massive, really, impressive sort of thing. I mean, they were the ones he gave me. He said to me early on, "I want you to get together the cover, the mod cover," and he gave me the cassettes of the thing. And this is what about. I don't think they were like that. I think they were his very, very early ones that he did on his home tape stuff. But what they recorded, they had this stuff, and they had like 20 or 30 tracks of synthesizers that he'd laid down. This very fine violin sounding and brass and stuff, synthesizer work or whatever. And so they got the guys in, you record the drums and you do this, but as they got in different people to record different things, they'd add it to the thing and then they'd wipe off that track. They did it bit by bit. It was very clever and a very methodical way of doing it. Of all these synthesizer tracks, they'd then re-record it and then wipe that one off. But they did it all to the demos. A very precise sort of way of working, really. And so there was a point in the middle of it, and they were recording Drowned. I mean, you couldn't make this up. Richard Curtis couldn't even make this up for one of his sort of sentimental films. And there was a thunderstorm outside, and the roof broke, and the water was coming in, and they were still recording it. And the guy outside, Ron Neverson, outside in the control room, didn't know what was going on. And they had on piano, they didn't have Nicky Hopkins. Chris Stainton, I think, who was with the Grease Band, because their normal guy to have, Nicky Hopkins, was doing something. And he was in a little booth, and he was playing, and the rain was pouring in. And these booths have shut, and he's playing away. When they opened the door, this water poured out. He was in about this much of water. It was incredible. Ken Russell was there that day. He saw that. He kept popping in with his scripts for his Tommy film. And I remember, and also at the end of it, there's this final crescendo on "Love Rain Over Me," and they bought Moon all these toys, all these percussion toys, tubular bells and huge gongs and everything. And they said, at the end of it, hit everything you've got, go mad, And he did. He just bashed it. They got and Neverson was saying, "I hope we got that because we could never do it again because he broke so much of stuff for this last sort of chord." Anyway, they'd done this mammoth recording thing, and then Pete and Neverson they set up in Pete's house. He bought a house in Goring-on-Thames by the river, in this sort of, I don't know, it's a sort of garage or a little cottage. They'd converted it. it was really odd. It looked so weird with these modern, huge modern desks and stuff in, and they were sort of working on the thing, a tremendous amount of work to mix it and record it and whatever. And did all that, and I think somewhere along the line they found that their record company in America, which was MCA, I think, then, was going to use a different quadraphonic system to the one that they'd been basing it on. You know, because quadraphonic recording, which actually, of course, never happened. In the end, they just dropped the whole thing. But it was going to be the next big thing. It was a bit like video recording. There were 2 or 3 competing systems, and then eventually one wins out. So it was highly complicated. In the middle of all that, too, was a battle going on between, first of all, Roger and the management of the band over some missing money. Roger wanted the accounts audited, and there's money missing, and they were saying, what, a million or something. Because Pete was defending Lambert because he needed him, and he said to me once, he said, look, we're going to, just because we've got some money, we don't want to end up as sort of investment bankers. You know, we've still got to be musicians. Just because you've got money, it shouldn't take your time what you're doing with the money, where's it gone? Which is ironic, considering that's just what they've kind of ended up. But anyway, he was defending Kit Lambert against it, and then John joined Roger's action, and Keith wouldn't. Keith said, look, it's mad money. You lose money on the road. That's what it was. That was what Chris Stamp was saying. Saying, look, when we're out on the road in America, we're drawing $1,000 here, $1,000, it all adds up. However, this was a lot of money gone missing. You know, I mean, Kit Lambert had a very nice canal front palace in Venice, which might be relevant or might not, we don't know. Very nice place. I went to Venice last year and it's still there. It's anyway, eventually Pete found some of his money, American royalties had gone, and he then joined it. So there was a class, the Who was suing their management. So the management couldn't really manage. So it had all these upheavals going on. And just at a time when Townsend really needed Lambert's input. But Lambert couldn't do it. That was the other thing. He would turn up. Pete would say his contribution seemed to be to turn up with some flash chef and food while we're recording, and you know, and expensive champagne, and it was all very good. And the Who were known for a partying, good at parties and that sort of stuff. But Pete wanted to get on with it. In fact, he and Lambert actually kind of blows over that, which was, you know, amazing considering they had such a close relationship. So he was left with it. And the thing I'm saying is, I think there was a problem in the recording or the mixing or something, because at the end of all that 2 months or so of him and Ron Neverson getting it all together, they took it to this mastering lab in New York or LA or somewhere, and the guy said there's a dynamic problem on it. There's no dynamic, you know, I don't understand the technical, but he was saying there's no depth of dynamism, you know, you've got no shit, basically. But they corrected it.